This is the Team Objection podcast for May 20th, 2021, episode 484. I have to admit, it's really nice having that at the bottom of the screen instead of having to reach for it in some other window or some other document. I kind of made a fancy thing for the video version because that's where I want people to be going long term. And you can still listen to the YouTube version if you need to do it that way for your podcast purposes. That's fine, but let's be honest, we used TalkShoe for all these episodes for all these years, and over time that platform's gotten worse and worse. So I'm trying to make video more of a thing, and maybe I stole this idea from PTI, maybe I didn't. You can't prove shit.
It's a Sunscast.
It's a Sunscast. What were you expecting?
Yeah,
it's a Sunscast.
It's a Sunscast.
It's a Sunscast.
I mean, we just finished the playing game. This is being recorded late Wednesday night. So Lakers Warriors just finished. We now know who the Suns' first round opponent is. And it's the Los Angeles Lakers.
We stayed up way past our bedtime just to give you this breaking news.
Yep.
And it's heartbreaking news.
It is a little bit.
It was funny. I woke up a few days ago we have to play the Lakers. And I was like, no, that's not true. Maybe
There's
not.
a chance.
And now we're faced with that reality.
So with this new format, I want to combine how we have PTI and Around the Horn, how they do points. So in my head, I'm going to be keeping points of the two of you. And the prize, since the world doesn't know, we secured tickets to Game 2 of the playoffs, which is why Arena Atmosphere is down there on the list. The winner of today will get this Suns mask to wear it to the game.
Wow.
So there you go. Courtney made a Suns mask and made one for her, and it was way too big. So one of you guys get it now.
Oh, I see.
So what if, and this is, a big time hypothetical reach, but let's just, entertain it. What if you actually had the best episode of the three of us?
I mean, that's a given. That's actually already factored in. So whoever gets second place, I already have my own mask that looks like this. So you get to be twinsies with me.
I see.
See, I have to say now that it's rigged and that there's no way he's going to give the mask to anyone but you. And I have to do that because I have to make him second guess and be like, he doesn't know me. And then now maybe, we'll see.
Shaun, I love you. I'm willing to be as fair and impartial as possible.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, we'll see, Dave. All right, so we have segments and shit.
Yep. So let's get into it. Put the picture of LeBron on the screen and talk about the reward for the Suns having fought all season to one of the best seasons in team history by win percentage, 51 wins, and they are rewarded with a 2-7 matchup in the first round of the defending champion Los Angeles Lakers. So the question then becomes, is this just the worst scenario that we could have envisioned?
I mean, watching the game tonight, the Lakers-Warriors game, neither team looked very good, I'll say. I don't think they both were up to... I think we match up way better with the Warriors. So it is, out of the game tonight, yes, it is the worst possible outcome. But man, the Lakers did not look good.
Here's my... Okay. If our goal is truly to win a title... No, let me start with this. If our goal is to just do as good as we can and get as far as we can, and we're measuring by the semifinals is a lot better than first round, conference finals is better than semifinals, this was a bad outcome. Mm-hmm. If our goal is truly we want to win the title, then I don't mind seeing the Lakers as early as possible, try to get through them when they're maybe not at 100%, and not be afraid of them. And go for it. So it kind of depends on what you're judging on. And I know if we lose in the first round, history is going to be like Devin Booker can't take his team past the first round. And I get that. But if we're really trying to be we have bigger fish to fry, yeah, let's play him now. Let's beat him, get him out of the way on our road to the title.
It's true. I mean, especially if, Anthony Davis looked disjointed tonight, I would say. Draymond Green shut him down for a lot of the game, I think. And LeBron said that when he hit that three-pointer that eventually won the game, that he saw 3 rims and just aimed for the one in the middle. So I don't know what to make of LeBron right now. He didn't have a great game, and I don't know if he's fully healthy anyway still. So this probably is a good time to run into him if we're going to run into him.
That is sort of the caveat, is that Anthony Davis really hasn't looked good since he came back at all.
Except against the Suns.
Not just tonight. That one game, he went absolutely bananas. And then other than that, he has not looked the best, right? LeBron, it's hard to say. Every time he comes back, he seems to tweak the ankle again. Looked pretty good tonight. Not 100% for damn sure. The problem I have with this is twofold. Number one, yes, neither team looked great tonight, but I think that's a function of the fact that they're both top 5 defenses, and neither of them is good offensively. It's what played both of these teams all season. We don't know about the injuries with both sides, so we know there's a reason for that. But I think that's part of why. And we know the Suns are top 10 in both stats, so maybe that matters. The other thing that gives me pause is we thought this exact same thing last year.
Mm-hmm.
We thought, hey, Portland coming out of the bubble as the 8th seed, that's the worst matchup the Lakers could have hoped for. Like, Portland's getting healthy at the right time. They're catching the Lakers early when they're still not 100%, and they haven't gotten all their team synergy, and the Lakers beat them 4-1, and it wasn't hard. So it's like, is that a harbinger of things to come here? I mean, it's very different situations, but still, it gives me pause when I'm like, oh boy, like we can tell ourselves this might come true, and it still could. Don't get me wrong, but I'm like,
yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I'm glad this happened, but I'm saying, silver lining, this could work out in our favor. And I would rather us play them in the first round when they're weaker than injured Denver or a not very good Portland, because that's the other part is we're better than Portland was when they played them last year.
Yeah.
Portland kind of sucked last year, actually. And, they might even be worse this year. So, I'm not that, I don't know. We have a chance.
The thing that sucks the most about this is you kind of mentioned already, but like, Shaun, you mentioned it. If we lose the first round, the narrative will be so much more than if we had lost the Lakers in a later round. It becomes, oh yeah, there you go, Suns, still losers, can't do it. It's like, do you understand this is not a normal 7 seed?
I don't think so. I don't think that's going to be the case because everybody knows this is what the narrative with the Lakers has been, is like this season we're going to find out, does seeding matter? And to an extent, does the regular season matter with the Lakers and the Nets? So I don't think the blowback is going to be, oh man, Suns blowing it again. I think everybody knows that we're facing the defending champions.
This is about as protected as we can be. If it would not have been the case against the Warriors, especially since they're not full strength. That would have been, if we lose to the Warriors in the first round, that would have been the apocalyptic scenario where now fans are going to be like, well, we suck again. This was all useless and blow it up or whatever. Here, at least, I think people are going to recognize, to answer the question at the top of the page, I think, this is sort of the worst outcome because our odds are not the best, right? So as far as like protecting ourselves from being hurt by the end of the season, this is great because if we lose, we can be like, well, it was the Lakers and LeBron and blah, blah, blah. But it is going to be a bit of a bummer not to even win one series after the way the season's gone.
The way NBA fans are, the way Lakers fans are, losing to them, especially in the first round, especially because they basically showed a big middle finger to the regular season, it'll hurt. It'll hurt really badly.
Now, none of us are just conceding this matchup, to be clear, even if it sounds like we're being defeatist right now. And we'll get to what our predictions are for both this series and potentially ones beyond it towards the end. But with that in mind, let's talk about the series now. We know the opponent. It's part of why we waited to record until now. So since it is the Lakers, we can talk about all sorts of different people as far as what's going to matter the most here. But if you had to single out one player, and there's a lot to choose from, who do you think is the most important as far as Phoenix goes?
DeAndre Ayton.
I mean, it's tough because I don't even know what I'm trying to say. Obviously, Devin Booker and Chris Paul need to show up and play crazy. And if Booker, as good as he's been this year, I'm still waiting for that bubble form to round out again, where he was just it seemed to be a cut above every other player that was on the court any night. But the biggest key, is Ayton. If Ayton shows up and he's not aggressive, can't play defense, and is going to take 3 shots and make one of them, it's going to be really tough to win this.
It's not even offense for Ayton. It's how much can he play defense? How much are the refs willing to let him body up Anthony Davis? I mean, Draymond Green tonight bodied up Anthony Davis and played really good defense. Will the refs allow that? Will they allow they call fouls on Ayton every second? Because if Ayton has 4 fouls with 8 minutes left in the third quarter, we're screwed in a way because our backup bigs. I don't know how we handle that front line.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to put it on the refs. That can be a factor. But when Ayton fell asleep on Anthony Davis earlier this year, I wouldn't say, man, the refs really suck. I would say where did his aggression go? Where is his effort? Where was Ayton from a month ago? Is he nervous now? Is the pressure what's going on? And that's what needs to not happen. If the refs are bad, we can deal with that as long as he is actually playing hard.
Yeah, as well, and as long as they're not calling phantom fouls on him or not rewarding his hard play is what I mean. It,
This
it
this is
I
sort of a
hate.
question I have, and it kind of ties into like, okay, the most important player has to be one of the big three, and probably is Ayton. I think you guys are right, but we're the 2 seed, so in theory we're supposed to be the favorite. Who knows, right? Whatever. We'll see I'm curious to see what Vegas does with the series too.
Yeah.
Whichever team is favored, do the Suns try to adjust their play style? Do you start Dario Saric knowing that they're going to be basically bringing out Anthony Davis and Andre Drummond? Or do you just go even further and commit to the small ball approach and make Drummond come out to the 3-point line and then just kind of concede like we're probably going to give up 15 offensive rebounds a game?
I mean, 2 months ago, I would have said probably Saric would have felt, good about that. Now he's playing horrible. And I like Dario Saric, so I usually like to give him the benefit of the doubt, and like he's just been bad. So now I don't know. I think you probably have to go small ball.
I recall the Mavericks in 2007 when they switched their lineup and they lost the series. And it felt like the moment they switched their lineup to try to match the Warriors' small ball in that series, the Warriors had him immediately.
The only thing I'll say though to that was the Dallas. That was their starting lineup every game that season. And then they go to the Warriors and like, we're going to change it up. We've changed our starting lineups. We've changed it because we've had to with injuries, and we've changed it based on the matchup. So it would not at least be anything new. Whereas
Fair.
for that team, that was a big sign of weakness, and that was their death knell right there.
Yeah. No, it's a fair point, and I think the fact that from everything we've heard, Cam Johnson's is going to be healthy. Ayton's supposed to be healthy, so we've got essentially everybody outside of Nader is the only one that probably won't play. So, I mean, having somebody like Jay Crowder on there, I think, is really big for us. So I could imagine us going with a Paul Booker, Bridges, Ayton, Crowder lineup as our starting lineup because Crowder's got some size, can guard LeBron, that type of thing.
I kind of want to be a bit of a contrarian just so that we don't all three have the same answer, even though I think Ayton's the right call. So I think you can make a case for whomever starts at the 4, probably Crowder. That seems to have been the lineup they've gone to the most this season, although it has changed a lot. He's got to be able to hit shots and play defense consistently. He's going to have to battle in the post, even though he's undersized. And he's done a pretty good job of that this season, even though his shooting's been streaky. He's not afraid to make the right play, whether it's hoisting a shot or passing in some spots. He's probably the best passer of all the people they rotate at the 4. Cam Johnson saw some time there, Torrey Craig, etc. I think that's going to be pretty vital because it's going to be important to get Drummond and or Davis and or whomever away from the basket, and the best way to do that is to have them launching as much as possible. I'm going to pick for my key player. I thought about Devin Booker because this is the first time on this stage for him, and it's his chance to show out. And while he had that 12 to 15 game stretch where he looked like Bubble Booker a little bit ago, maybe a month back, he has not looked like that again down the stretch. And this is his chance to go big, right? I mean, Jason Tatum just had 50 the other night, and we saw what like Mitchell did and Jamal Murray did in last season's first round. This is his coming out party, and he needs to be ready to rise to the occasion. But my pick, Mikal Bridges.
Yeah.
And not for his defense, which I think is going to be really important. He's probably going to draw the LeBron assignment more often than anybody else. I'm sure Torrey Craig's going to get a lot of cracks there. There's going to be some other people there. But for me, it's his offense. The last month and change of the season, Mikal Bridges has become our number 3 option, and it's vital. We know Chris Paul and Devin Booker are going to get, 18 to 25 a night apiece, hopefully more. But like you can pencil them in almost rock solid. The third option, since DeAndre Ayton's offense has dropped off the face of the earth, has become Mikal Bridges. Mm-hmm. And he's sneakily efficient, and he's developing the mid-range game. So for me, we need him to be putting up 15 a night and playing stellar defense. That's a huge ask of a guy who hasn't been in the playoffs before, but I think he's good enough to rise to it.
I'm not trying to over and hyperbolize this at all, but there has been some parallels between Mikal Bridges and a certain Kawhi Leonard and their careers. Coming in, being defensive players, not having a ton of offensive game to start, and accelerating. I'm not saying he's Kawhi Leonard. I'm not saying he's going to be. But Kawhi became Kawhi throughout the course of the 2014 playoffs. If Mikal can have that type of trajectory, that would be huge for us, obviously.
Yeah.
So I agree with you.
And LeBron's a good matchup for Mikal because he's not one of those speedy.
Fast.
Yeah. Mikal has struggled at times this season defensively against some of the speedier folks, but he does well against the Lukas and the LeBron. And LeBron's physical. And the only way Mikal can contest that is with his ridiculous length because he doesn't have the frame to stand up to like LeBron posting up on him 50 times a game. But to me, that's important too. I think Aiden's the right call, but I want to throw a different one out there because it's supposed to be like PTI. We can't all just agree all the time.
Well, and I'll throw out the bench. That's my player. That's my X factor is, we have so much better depth. I think, even though people tout like, oh, when we picked up Schroeder and we have Caruso and Montrezl Harrell, I mean, the Lakers are huge, but I think our depth is better as long as everybody shows up. If Cam can be, 3/4 of the Cam in the bubble again, that would be great. Not 0 for 11 from 3-point Cam. Johnson, campaign. If he keeps playing like he's been playing the last month and a half, that's been huge. I think our bench is going to be so pivotal. And if they show up, we're going to be in great shape. If Sharch can actually remember how to play basketball again, go over the brain damage that's happened, So even if we play even with their starters or even a little bit under, like if our bench can buoy us, that might be fine.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. The fact we have somebody like Torrey Craig, who is a good defender, who can come in case somebody like McHale or Jay Crowder gets in foul trouble and kind of come in and fill that same role, maybe not as well. I think it's really huge. But yeah, I mean, if Cam Payne can keep up what he's doing and be a good backup and even run some minutes with Chris Paul, that'll just help so much.
Yeah, you can argue Cam Payne has become our number 4 option over the course of the last month or so. He's looked really good in stretches, and the ones where he didn't, he probably wasn't 100% healthy, so could be vital. And I think we're the deepest team in the playoffs. Now, playoff rotations generally shorten, not lengthen, so how much of that's really an asset is unclear. But it does, earthquake, it does protect us against games where somebody gets in foul trouble, injuries, rest issues, and it gives us different looks. I mean, if Cam Johnson's struggling with a shot one night and he starts off 0 for 6 from 3, maybe Torrey Craig gets additional minutes in the second half. And if Torrey's turning the ball over like it's a hot potato, maybe they go that would be a great spot for Nader if he wasn't hurt. But still, with the players they've got, you can stick out, you can put Etuan Moore in for a couple minutes at the start of the second quarter and just see what it looks like out there.
And, another key, and I actually hate this as advice because I think it borders dangerously close to just score more points than the other team. That's a key to victory. But I think the Suns need to get ahead early. I don't think LA is a good team to be playing from behind because they're so big. They get to the line. If you dig a hole, I just think it's really hard to come back from with them.
Yeah, well, they're bad offensively and they're bad from 3 overall.
I have a stat for you, Shaun. The Suns are 51-0 this season when outscoring their opponents. So that's really beneficial for you in what you do.
But I mean, really, but I will say the Suns, sometimes struggle with coming out strong. And so, we got to, right from the get-go, we got to be dialed in. Yeah.
And the last thing I think is, people talk about experience. And I think that points into what you were saying, Shaun. If we can come out strong and kind of get over that hump of McHale and Ayton and Booker being like, whoa type of thing, like looking around, that type of thing, and get it right into it and not be awed and in awe of the moment. I think that'll be huge for us. I'm hoping that Chris Paul has been beating that into their heads about what this actually means as much as he can in the only way he can. I don't know how you do that. I've never been in that situation, but I hope he has been doing it because Chris Paul's obviously been here before.
I think the key is going to be getting off to a strong start in games and the series. Watch this segue. Boom. The Suns are the 2 seed, so they're starting this at home. 2 games at home. For obvious reasons, they can't afford to lose both. That's true of almost any series against any opponent, but especially here when you're hosting, you really don't want to be going down 2-0 and then traveling to LA against a team this good. But
what is this, 1993?
I know. So it's pretty self-evident that no matter what the situation is, that it's really important that the Suns at least split these openers because they were a very good road team all season, the best in the NBA by record. However, the question then becomes, and we're going to be at a game, so that's going to be cool. We'll talk about that. But can they rely on home court mattering? Or is it at this point, we know this, the arena's at half capacity? Did they actually announce that day when they were selling the tickets?
I want to say I saw between 11 and 13,000, so it's like 66% capacity, I think.
So different teams are going to have different home court's advantage this time. Home court advantages. I fell into the classic AP trap because it's always like passers-by and runners-up, but it is still home court advantages. I fucked up. Anyways, so different teams are going to have different capacities. Some are going to have like 25%. Some are going to have near full arenas. The Suns are doing pretty well. Do you think that's going to be a factor? And how loud do we have to cheer to make it a factor?
We have to out cheer the Lakers fans that are going to be there. A part of the reason this is such a bad matchup for it is when it comes to home court advantage is the fact that there are so many California transplants here that'll come over or just Lakers fans in general, because people love to be front runners, and we have to be louder than they are because there's going to be a good contingent of them there.
I'm still kind of torn because I think you're right overall, and I'm sure some of them got tickets when they were made available. The Suns crowds have been pretty decent this season, especially given the atmosphere of a half-empty arena. You've heard them in some of the pivotal matchups in the last couple months of the season as that capacity has increased. I would like to hope that because it is a playoff game, because the city is so starved for a winner, and because the tickets went on sale for like season ticket holders first, and then like the sixth man folks, that there's always going to be a Lakers contingent, no question. But I'm hoping that it's at least like 75-25 Suns fans. Is that unreasonable?
I feel that's pretty reasonable. If it's 60-40, I'm getting worried.
It better not be 60-40.
Yeah.
If somehow 60-40, where 40% of the limited capacity has gone to fans of the other team on tickets that are limited, we did something wrong.
It's an unfortunate thing that's happened in Phoenix sports in the past, where the people who have season tickets will be like, "You're telling me I can pay for half my whole season from this one game? Well, hell, okay," and give up the big game to the outside fans who are willing to spend the money. It's happened a lot. I hope it doesn't happen here, especially with the Lakers. We haven't been in the playoffs for 11 years. There's limited capacity. Like, all these factors means Suns fans, you got to hold on to your tickets. And the prices on secondary markets are showing that it actually, people are not giving up their tickets for cheap, at least. So I don't know how much they're moving, but prices are high.
And it's kind of a question of how much are other fans going to travel?
Yeah.
I mean, again, some definitely are, but compared to other seasons, will we have as big of a contingent coming from LA as we would normally just because of the lingering effects of the virus and whatnot? Again, certainly some will, but I have to feel like it's going to be a little bit reduced just in comparison. Like, I wouldn't go to LA for a game right now.
I mean, I haven't before.
But but to
if
your
they gave me
question,
free tickets, I would. But.
Yeah.
To your question, I think it does matter, and I think it will matter to our players. And for a team that has kind of shown in the last month they've regressed almost exclusively because they've just kind of stopped caring, is what it seemed like. They're kind of like, yeah. Like, let's get to the playoffs. We're good, and we know it. I'm hoping between the bigger stage and a bunch of fans being there that like they're going to be really dialed in. And I hope that we see that in the defense. Mm-hmm. I think the offense is going to come. It's the defense that I'm worried about. And if we can play defense like we were earlier in the year, I think we're going to be in good shape.
Yeah. And I think the fact is we get the first two at home, we can set the tone. We get, if you go to a game 5, I've heard people say game 5 is the most important of the series. It's either over, someone takes or someone takes a 1 game to go lead. Yeah. You know what I mean? So having that game at home, having a potential game 7 at home, like all those are important.
And you'd like to hope that that actually matters for a number of reasons, but one of them being you want the regular season to matter. Like, I know there was some consternation about the Lakers having even fallen into a play-in game in the first place, but to me, it's like, yeah, well, they were hurt.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, they're really good when they're healthy, so that they shouldn't be punished for that. It's like, well, to some extent, health is a skill. Like, yeah, LeBron had his leg fallen on, and he's been very durable throughout his career, so it's kind of unfair to pin that on them. But at the same time, part of the reason the Suns were so successful was because they had almost all their players almost all season. And maybe that's going to come back to bite them in the playoffs now. Maybe it's going to reveal that we weren't actually as good as we seemed to be, and we were more like that 4 or 5 seed that we thought we were back at the start of the season. I don't know. But hopefully you played all these games and you finished above the Lakers so that home court mattered, that game 7 mattered, something mattered. That's my hope.
Yep, and I hope that it does exist, basically, home court advantage.
We talk about like game 7, but of course we don't make it that far. That's going to be sad.
Yeah.
Like, we can't get swept.
No.
Cannot. And we shouldn't. I'm not even going to predict that. Like, we're too good, I think, to get swept. But, like, that would really hurt.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much fine with most outcomes, and we'll talk about our predictions here in a second. But, like, I'm happy to be here, honestly. I enjoyed the season. I like this team. I like the camaraderie. I'm not satisfied. I want them to go as far as they possibly can. Obviously, I'd be overjoyed to win a title. But at least now, especially given the matchup like we talked about before, I'm not like they have to win or I'm going to be devastated. It'd be a bummer, but as long as they compete, as long as they bust their asses, if they come up short against a team this good, I'm going to be okay with that, honestly.
I don't even mind this swept, honestly. I mean, like, I mind it, but you know what I'm saying.
If they're not blowouts, right?
If every game we are clearly outmatched and we feel like we don't even deserve to be on the court, that's what's gonna if every game we lose by 15 to 20 or something crazy, that's gonna be a bummer. But if we get swept, but almost every game is really close, down to 1 or 2 possessions that we can look back to and say, this is growth. If we can build on these 1 or 2 possessions next year, we're gonna be in great shape. That's gonna feel okay. It's just like, yeah, if we end up, we were actually only as good as like the 6 or 7 seed and we were tricked, that's gonna feel bad.
There's a line in Ted Lasso, a show that I really liked lately. The name of the last episode of the season is called It's the Hope That Kills You. And I feel like that's kind of the situation here. Coming into this season, if you would have told me that we're playing the Lakers in the first round and we lost the Lakers in the first round, I'd been like, hey, you know what? We got to the playoffs at least. All right. The hope and expectations for this season have changed that completely. And I feel like I will be devastated if we lose this one. I know, like, hey, good, we made the playoffs after 11 years. We're taking steps in the right direction. But we didn't look like a team that was like, hey, I'm glad to make the playoffs. No, we look like a team that is a contender. We beat all of the teams, the big teams this year. We beat Milwaukee, we beat Philadelphia, we beat the Jazz. We beat the teams that are on the top of the league. Losing in the first round is just going to hurt after this type of season that we had.
So somehow, like, Dave's become the most negative of the three of us, which is not a road I would have expected us to go down back at the start of the season. But like you said, things have changed since then.
It's too... this wasn't even a full season. It was 10 games shorter, obviously. But you go through the expectations we had at the beginning. We're like, man, if we made the 3 seed, that'd be awesome. Like, we'd have a great season. And then all of a sudden, we were challenging for the number 1 seed. And to be honest, we should have had the number 1 seed. We blew a number of games through the season. And every team has that happen. I'm not saying that, we're robbed of it. But like we have shown on many, many times, we were the best team in the league. To have the best team in the league for stretches of the season, for long stretches of the season, lose in the first round is painful.
I get where you're coming from.
Yeah, I don't agree. And maybe it is, like you said, or like you're doing, Chris, maybe it is time to transition. But I think, I don't know. I don't see this as the end, So then I see this as another step. And if this step can be, we push all the way and kind of miraculously we can get to the finals or win the title. Like, oh my God, Chris said overjoyed earlier. That is like not even close to what we would all actually feel.
I'm going to need our viewers to design my tattoo, my Phoenix Suns 2021 tattoo on my body, where I'm getting it, basically.
Well, we're going to have like the new layout, and it's going to be like, fuck y'all, we're the champions. It's going to be like very all caps, all very obnoxious,
But because this is a step, I go back to because it's been a while since we talked about The Last Dance. I go back to the Michael Jordan story of like, first year he goes against the juggernaut of the Celtics, and because of Michael Jordan, you'd almost think, he put Chicago on his back and he went to the title. And it's like, no, they got killed. It wasn't even really that close of a series. I think maybe they won 1 game in that series. And so that was just a step in the journey. And this can be that, but we're still getting that experience. We're like whetting the appetite. So like, I think it's okay. We just need to go in with the right mindset.
If Chris Paul was 10 years younger, I'd totally agree with you. That's
the only thing. For a couple more years. It'll be okay.
I didn't have a player option.
Yeah.
So, before the season started, we all locked in what at the time probably seemed like fairly aggressive predictions, coming from people who had been beaten into the ground after season after season after season of mediocrity to terribleness. And I think we picked 42, 43, and 44 wins. And we were all short, which... Yep. Awesome.
Great.
We're thrilled about that. That's great. Now we have to lock in this prediction. How far do the Suns go in the playoffs, especially given the first round matchup that we've drawn now?
This is difficult to answer because I have kind of gone through this. Once we got good in February and March, I kind of looked at this as the only teams who can stop us are the Lakers and Nets. It's kind of the way I looked at it. And so if the Lakers would have been normal Lakers and would have been up near the 1 seed or something like that, and we wouldn't meet them till the conference finals, I probably would have said my prediction would have been Western Conference Finals. Now I don't know what the hell to predict because, like, if we get past the Lakers, I think we'll make the finals. I really do. I don't see another team in the West stopping us.
Well, especially then, I get what you're saying, but then on top of that, we have proven that we beat the Lakers. Like, even more fuel for that fire.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I do believe that we can beat the Lakers. I don't think they are the juggernaut they were last season. I think that they have been injured too much. They can't just flip a switch like they kind of did last year, but it was different. People weren't hurt as much last season. LeBron and AD got 5 months off in between to rest their bodies and then flip the switch when everybody had to flip the switch back on. This is different than last year, and I don't think they can just turn it on right away. So, in a sense, meeting them this early, I think we can beat them, and I think we will take it in 6.
Wow.
That's what I'm gonna go. So, how about that for being optimistic or pessimistic?
So how far do they ultimately go then?
I would say
like finals. Do they beat the Nets in this
I
imaginary finals?
I think we lose to the Nets in the imaginary finals. Unless that's what I would be. If I had to throw money on it, that would be my bet.
Is there a part of you that, just a really quick tangent, like, is there a part of you, if the Nets win the finals, is going to be like, this kind of sucks? Like, you just stacked the team with all the best players in the world, and they did exactly what we all knew they were going to do, and in the worst way, because they didn't even play during the season.
They still finished with the 2 seed. It's the East, but they still, they at least won their games. It's not like the Lakers winning after just being hurt and not caring about the season and barely squeaking into the playoffs at this point would be worse in that instance. But no, I'd be super torn on the Nets because I kind of bought into that Nets fandom last year in the bubble, even though it was a stupid 1-game thing. It was kind of fun to be like, hey, thanks for trying to get us in, guys. Like, Karis LeVert was fun to cheer for last year. Steve Nash, the coach, Mike D'Antoni being on there. Like, there's a lot of things I actually want to cheer for about the Nets. So I'd be really conflicted because, like you said, Shaun, great. All right, here we go. Another super team after the Warriors are finally done. But then again, I'd be happy for Steve Nash. So
he's always been star-driven, Like, yeah. Now, you can certainly argue about how Harden got there, but I don't really have any qualms with Kyrie and KD shunning the places they were expected to go and teaming up in Brooklyn instead. Harden kind of being a dick and playing his way out of Houston's another story. That's a hard one to get behind. It would certainly be quieting for any critics of those 3 individual players because Harden would have a title on his resume, and for Kyrie and Kevin, it would be another title with a different team without like a LeBron or a Golden State factor involved. So that would go a long way towards their legacies.
Yep.
I think for Nash alone, I'd probably be like, all right. I don't know if I'd be I'm not going to be like, yeah, I'm going to the Nets parade. But, I would at least be like, okay, good for Steve. That's my takeaway. Good for Steve. Good for Joe Harris.
D'Antoni even.
Yep.
Even though it's only assistant coach, but.
Yeah.
There's something about, and really, that's one of those things where you look back, it's like, guys, we made the finals. Like, and we have everybody, theoretically in that case, we have everybody coming back ready to go again next season. It's not like we're breaking up, So in that scenario, I'd be okay with it, even though it would hurt in the moment.
Okay. So then, Dave, for your ultimate prediction, Nets in how many games then?
I would probably go 5 or 6, probably 6.
6. Okay. Nets in 6. All right. That's wow. Interesting. Okay.
I don't see anybody else in the West beating us.
Chris,
that's
I want you to go.
Lakers in 6.
It's interesting that you said that because I thought I was going to have the worst one, so I wanted to go last.
No. I almost want to say Lakers in 5. And that fucking kills me.
Yeah, it sucks. But As a fan, I'm with Dave. I'm like, yeah, you know what? They proved me wrong earlier in the year. I owe it to the Suns and how good we played to give them some faith. If you were like, we've kidnapped your family and we will kill them, if you're wrong, what is your best guess on what's going to happen? So I'm removing the fan bias and I'm just saying, here's what I honestly think. I think it's 6. Like Chris said, if we push it to 6, there's going to be a part of me. It's like, we did okay, actually.
I don't know if that's just me protecting against pain.
Yeah,
it certainly could be.
yeah.
Because obviously I'm going to be rooting for them every single game. Like, my life depends on it. So, if anything, I'd be thrilled to be wrong. But I'm supposed to be predicting what I think is going to happen. And in my heart, I just feel like we're going to get exposed for having been healthy all season when other teams weren't. I do think that I'm sort of with Dave. At the very least, I don't give a fuck about Denver or Portland in the second round if we were so fortunate as to beat the Lakers. I think a healthy Utah and or a Clippers team that actually gives a damn poses a threat in the Western Conference Finals if we make it that far. And then I think Brooklyn should be the title favorite right now. And to be honest, like, while we play the Sixers well, they're good. The Bucks have really come alive down the stretch, and they're kind of a nightmarish matchup, even though we play them well too. So none of that's like an easy coronation. But to me, the most difficult team for us matchup-wise is this first-round opponent, which is kind of a fucking bummer.
Yeah.
So that's where I have to shut it down.
You know what though? Like, again, like I'm okay with getting that experience. From Booker's perspective, I don't think he's going to go to this playoffs and be like, "Wow, I can't believe this is all that there is for the Suns. I want to go to New York or something." Like, I think he's going to see it as we played the champs. So however far we can push them. And if we can beat them, like, amazing, great. But like, this is some critical experience that we're building on in a fluky season. Fluky for multiple reasons, but playing the Lakers in round 1, kind of period, because we weren't supposed to be bad enough to do that either. So the fact that we're on the other side of it and still playing them, like, it's a fluke. It's, it is what it is. It had to be somebody, and it's us.
Yep. The guy that woke up in a coma at the beginning of the season, it's like, oh, the Suns are playing the Lakers. Huh, so okay, man, the Suns were the 7 seed. All right, well,
yeah.
I mean, glad that we got in there. Wait, what? We have home court advantage? What?
Never tell that person that we had, Just let them keep thinking we're the 7 seed.
Yeah. And
think of how thrilled they'd be when we upset them.
Yeah, they'll be confused when game 1 is there in Phoenix, but they'll figure it out. I don't know.
And I somehow now am rooting against every other team in the Western Conference, and not just because I want the Suns to win, but because every team in the West has done something that pissed me off this season. Let's go down the list. Utah, fuck Gobert. Okay, easy. Denver, not really a big antagonist against Denver for most of the season. In fact, they've played really well considering Jamal Murray went down with a horrific injury. People wrote him off. But they lost on purpose the final game of the season, so fuck them. Fuck the Clippers for several reasons. Unlikable, tanking on purpose to dodge the Lakers like a bunch of pussies, so they can go right to hell.
Interrupt you real quickly. That's actually what pissed me off even more about the Lakers losing this game to the Warriors tonight, was had they lost that game, gotten to the 8th seed, they could have played the Clippers in the second round, which would have been the best fucking thing.
Yeah, that's kind of honestly, I guess dodging the Suns was the number 1 outcome, but that was very close for me. The Clippers losing their way to 4th on purpose to dodge the Lakers and having them end up in that side of the bracket would have just been... C'est magnifique.
Yeah.
I don't know why I have such a grudge against Portland, but I do. Dallas has Luka, so they can go straight to hell.
Yep,
the Lakers are obvious. And I guess the Warriors, if they're the 8th seed, or Memphis, I don't really have anything against Memphis. So I guess it's not every team. It's just 6 of the 8.
We're not going to play either one of them, so fuck it. Who cares?
I wouldn't think so.
You know what, though? But I do want to say... respect to the Suns, who the whole year, and I would even argue in the last game, chased the number 1 seed, and we weren't trying to fucking dodge anybody. We're not like these bitch ass LA and Denver. Like, we did our best, and we're not scared. And Chris Paul, I mean, like, I don't think it's just posturing. He cut off Charles Barkley to be like, look, it's going to be hard no matter what. So we're just going to play the best that we can. We're not trying to dodge anybody. Like, we're here for the competition, and let's do it. Like, I love that. And if that means we lose in the first round, but we had a good spirit about it and we're trying, I think that bodes so much more well. I don't know. I want to say reckoning is coming to the Clippers, but we're not
going to win the title.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a reckoning in one round or another, because there's no way in hell they hold it for 4 rounds, and they're really good, but there's no way.
Yeah.
I mean, I can cheer for Luka in the first round, right? To just knock the Clippers out and just call it a day, right?
I can't cheer for anybody. I can't cheer for anybody in that series because I don't want Luka's mystique to go up when he overcomes the odds, even though it's like at a certain point, you can't just pretend like he's an underdog. If he's this good, then he's expected to be this good in these type of situations. It can't just be, well, look at his surrounding cast. Well, the surrounding cast got him to the 5 seed, okay? So they're not nobodies. They're not useless. So it can't just be held against him when it's convenient as an excuse for why he loses again in the first round.
In case Devin Booker is watching, because he knows I'm a big fan, and
Hi, Devin.
Just in case, I want to say we're completely capable of beating the Lakers. Like, I don't want to be like Charles Barkley, be like, we have no chance in hell, one prediction or another. It's always like it's set in stone. No, we're completely capable. We have what it takes. The odds are against us, but that makes it all the better when we overcome them.
We're not massive underdogs. I think we're slight underdogs. It's just going to be really difficult to beat LeBron in 87 4 times in 7 games. I think that's going to be an uphill battle, and that's why I'm not picking the Suns to win the series. But to your original point a minute ago, like, if we intend to win the title this season, we're going to have to beat good teams.
Yeah.
Maybe the Lakers are the best team of anybody in the playoffs. I don't know if that's true. I think Brooklyn is. But regardless, like, there's 8 or 9 title contenders. It's actually a really exciting postseason that we have coming up here because there are good teams, but I don't think there's a clear-cut favorite. So we're walking into that knowing that, okay, like, we're going to have to beat somebody good in the Western Conference Finals if we make it that far. We're going to have to beat somebody really good in the NBA Finals. So, like, sort of to your point, Shaun, well, if we got to beat the Lakers, that'll make the fucking championship video that they put out on VHS at the end of the season that much more satisfying.
Yep. I'm curious, do we know what people are predicting yet at all? You said you're interested in Vegas, but like, have we heard any analysts or
Vegas might set a line tonight, but I mean the series just got set an hour ago, so I don't know if anybody's talked about it yet.
I like Zach Lowe. I want Zach Lowe to be like the Suns have a chance. I don't think he's going to, though, based on what I know about Zach Lowe. I don't think it looks good.
The odds, I can't find them yet. I don't know if they've been set yet or not for the series. So we'll see it soon enough. But I mean, I'm gonna guess if I had to set the lines, the Lakers to win the series are gonna be like plus 175 to win the series.
Is that like pretty?
It's slim.
Pretty huge.
It's not slim. It's a little more than slim, but it's not huge.
Okay.
No, it's not huge.
And the line will move depending on how people are betting it. If there's a ton of people who are like, hell yeah, I'm going to take the Lakers, then they'll shift it accordingly. But we'll see.
Yeah, it essentially means that you have to bet $175 to win 100.
Even knowing that the Lakers could be a potential first round matchup, there were a couple of analysts who were picking the Suns as like a sleeper, as a good title pick.
I want to say like
all
Bobby,
the way pick.
Bobby Marks.
Yeah. That was one.
It was like they're like the Nets.
Yeah.
Way back when.
Somebody else, I don't remember who I saw, but somebody else I saw in passing yesterday, I think, had them in the finals.
Yeah.
But only one of us does, so we'll see how it goes.
I think the thing working against me is like the best teams always sort of win in basketball. Like that's like the juggernaut. I don't even mean best teams. Like the juggernauts, the ones who you pick at the beginning of the season, so often are the ones who are there at the end. But we saw it last year. The Heat made it all the way to the finals. And every once in a while there are surprises. Dallas against the Heat. Dallas to even make it against the Heat and then to beat the Heat. That was one of the biggest upsets I think we've seen in basketball.
Yeah.
So it's possible.
It is. I mean, Toronto beating Golden State was big, but then injuries were really the reason for that you can point to at least. So, but still, it's another example of, everyone thought the Warriors were just going to run rampant through the season, and oops, they didn't.
That's why you got to play the games at the very least.
If LeBron tweaks his ankle in game 1, you best believe I'm changing my prediction for the series.
Yeah, kidding.
Like, there's all sorts of things that could go wrong. It could be the same, like Chris Paul's unfortunate but existent playoff injury history could rear its ugly head. Fingers crossed it doesn't. But that could happen too. I don't know. I mean, look, no 7 or 8 seeds ever won a title, but no 7 seeds ever been like this team we're about to face. So fingers crossed, I guess.
Yeah.
Yep.
Alrighty, well, that is the end of the episode. There's one of the last times we went to a Suns game. It was years ago. We've been to a couple since then, but
we got to take a new picture.
Yeah, we really should. Without masks, if we can. Do we know what the protocol is there, by the way? Is it on all the time?
On all the time unless you're eating. I'm pretty sure if we win the game and we're able to walk down towards the court and take a picture like that's pictured, I'm pretty sure we could take our mask off for the moment to take a picture. I'm pretty sure they'll be okay with that.
Even if it's
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Sure, if we have to.
Yeah.
So I have to name the winner. And you guys made it very difficult on me because neither of you were freaking optimistic whatsoever. You both picked
I was
Lake.
gonna
This
say,
is very
yeah.
difficult.
Yeah.
You
Go
really, you
Suns.
won, I think. Yeah.
Like, I mean, yeah, I almost want to name myself as the winner just so, but I already have one, so I don't need two.
I mean, you had the balls to predict them to go way further than either of us did. So
You
in a
had
way,
Nets in 6. We had Lakers in 6.
I know. And
You had them playing like 30 more games.
and you know, I was gonna say that like that would be the hardest thing is you mentioned how wide open these playoffs are and how much potential these playoffs have to be exciting. If the Suns are out in the first round, how much that's just watching the rest of it is gonna sting that much more.
I mean,
So-
think about it this way. I would never dare to put this out in the universe, but if we got swept, our season would be over 9 days from today when this episode airs.
Yeah.
After all this buildup and the surprise and the journey, it could come to a close in 9 days, 4 games.
Yeah.
It won't. We're not getting swept. I'm just saying,
No.
like, that's how tenuous all of this all becomes all of a sudden because, boy, it can go south in a hurry.
So my winner for the show is actually Shaun. Shaun wins the
I
mask.
did it. Because I did
and
that thing.
He plans to seed 45 minutes ago and it
The
bore
reason,
fruit.
no, and the reason for that, as stupid as it is, your point about getting out to a fast start was just kind of
The worst. The point that I don't even like.
He got out to a fast start in the episode, and he got off to a fast start in the getting out to a fast start point, and it paid dividends.
Okay.
So I don't have a mask to wear, so I'm going to die.
I can give. I have another Suns mask if you'd like. I can absolutely. Let
Yeah,
you
but it's
have
not special. It hasn't been earned.
I mean, you got second place.
Did I, or did I get third?
Well, I wasn't a contestant, so I
You know
was
what
the
though?
judge.
Yeah, for what it's worth, I'm gonna have a Suns hat, shirt.
Do you have the Suns hat?
Yeah, I have the Magic hat, and
Yeah,
I
you
haven't
have
worn
to wear
it
that.
at all
We're
this
about
year,
to
so that's
wear
going
this.
on.
Yep.
Now, if we get blown out in the game we go to,
Burn
then
the
we
hat.
know the hat is done.
Yeah, we're burning
right?
it.
An
An effigy.
I might even wear it in the pool the day before to soak in the solar rays
The
because that was
juices,
the
yeah.
key last time.
Mhm.
Yep.
So I'm gonna have the hat. I'm gonna be totally decked out. Long sleeve shirt, Suns. I'm gonna wear probably shorts under my shorts that are gonna be Suns. So with a mask that's also Suns, like I'm gonna be almost like a few degrees away from Mr. Orange, pretty much.
It's fine. I just built an entire TV style overlay. It's not a big deal. And it's running an actual production here. It's fine. Don't worry about it. As a programming note, you can see it on the screen if you're watching it on YouTube. There's no episode next week because we're going to be in Phoenix. When we normally record on Tuesday night, we're going to be at Game 2, hopefully cheering on a Suns win. So no show next week. We'll be back on June 3rd, the following Thursday, with a regular episode. It'll probably be a Suns cast, almost certainly, no matter what happens. We win, we lose. All of it's going to probably lead to talking about that, being at the game, that experience, the week of off that we had. So, look, you can't blame us. We said back at the start of the season, if this were to happen, if they were to actually perform well, that we'd be doing Suns casts almost every week. It's the first time they've been in the playoffs in 11 years, so bear with us, but we're just a little bit excited.
First time in show's history we've gotten to talk about the Suns.
Yeah.
Oh God,
Which is painful but true.
Yeah.
All this time, they had a 48-win season where they almost made the playoffs, and everything else has been pretty much trash.
Yep.
So we're just a little bit hyped, okay? So that's the end of this show. In between episodes, you can find us at our website, objectionnetwork.com, or at youtube.com/objectionnetwork for new videos 7 days a week, except next week. Won't be any videos next week. We're off. See you on June 3rd.
Go Suns.